Is Rocky Balboa dead? I really hope not. I'm so concerned. I'm gonna cry. Oh no. But also, is this how the future of DC movies looks? Do we finally have an answer on that? We're talking some of our favourite openings in horror movies, but one of our favourite final girls might be a little bit kind of harsh to some of her other half co-stars. I don't know, it's a bit of a weird situation. Anyway, a whole bunch of craziness and a really fun casting game at the end of today's show. Welcome to the madness. Hello everyone, welcome back to Monday Madness with Morgan and the Machine. Hello, the Machine.
Hello, the Morgan. How are you doing?
How are we? I'm good, yes.
Yes,
I'm not good though. I'm good, but I'm not good because I'm genuinely worried about the safety of Rocky Balboa.
I am so concerned as well because yes, we watched the new Creed 3 trailer and Rocky was nowhere to be seen.
What's going on? This is one of
I,
our topics for our What's Up today.
yes.
It's genuinely concerning for me. We're going to, of course, get into it, but generally, how's the week? What's happening? Are we having fun times? I don't know if I am or not. I really couldn't tell you. I've only watched the major movie we're talking about today, really, because we're talking about it on this show. I wasn't actually originally going to go and watch the movie.
He wasn't. Now that we actually have to keep things topical, I have to force Morgan into some of the big ones that he's not.
Does Morgan regret watching the latest big DC movie or not? Well, that's coming fairly soon as well, isn't it? Shortly.
Yes.
Should I just ask the question so we can start with some of our topics, Jeannine?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Sup, Jeannine? Sup?
Quite a bit is up, Morgan.
Oh, quite a little bit, yes. What are we starting with? You like to often start with the bad stuff for some reason? Just for the people coming into the show and they're thinking, oh, what a fun show. Monday Madness, fun times, Morgan and the Machine. Let's talk about miserable things. No, we don't want to do that, but it is where we like to start a lot of the shows because get rid of the bad stuff first, put more focus into the potentially good stuff, or at least a more positive based discussion.
Yes. So we can start with, the Jamie Lee Curtis thing that you alluded to at the start of the show.
Yes.
I discovered a podcast done by Danielle Harris and Scout Taylor Compton. Scout Taylor Compton played Laurie Strode in the Rob Zombie Halloween films. And Danielle Harris played Jamie Lloyd, her daughter, in the later Halloween sequels. And she also, I believe, played her friend in the Rob Zombie Halloween films. She played Brackett.
Yes. She is in those.
Yes. She played Sheriff Brackett's daughter.
I've seen them once. I don't really recall Rob Zombies, to be honest.
Yeah. I haven't watched them in a while. So they have a podcast called Talk Scary to Me. And they've kind of become really close friends. And so they actually were invited to the Halloween Ends premiere. They were super excited about it. And they kind of really were built up and excited to finally meet Jamie Lee Curtis because despite their kind of history as well with the Halloween franchise, neither of them had met her. So they kind of had all these missed opportunities. They were told by one of the producers that they could kind of meet her on the red carpet and get a picture. But then as soon as I guess Jamie Lee Curtis showed up, like whoever was running the red carpet just kicked everyone off the carpet. So they were like, okay, we'll get to her at an after party and try to kind of tell her just what she means to us. We love her. We have so much respect for her, what she's done for horror. Like they just wanted to gush over her because they really looked up to her. So it was a very kind of awkward thing. Jamie Lee Curtis was sitting down. I guess she had her shoes off. She was kind of, winding down, but she was still kind of having pleasant conversations with people. Danielle is good friends with Heather Langenkamp, aka Nancy from, Elm Street films. And so she kind of asked her to maybe kind of create a bit of an introduction. But Heather said she had just talked to her and Jamie had seemed like kind of in a weird mood. Ultimately, the photographer, Jamie Lee Curtis's photographer, kind of helped them make the introduction. So she kind of goes up to her and Danielle tells her, "Oh, I think you're great. I was in such and such movie. I played your daughter." And she's like, "Oh, I've never seen those. I don't know who you are." Just very not kind of like, not pleasantly like, I haven't watched those movies. Like the way they kind of just talked about on their podcast where she was very kind of dismissive, like, "Oh, I don't watch those. I don't know, have no clue who you are." And just kind of a little bit rude about it. And then Scout kind of had her moment and she said it was very much similar to that as well. So are we in the camp of, so it really just hurt their feelings. Like they both were very much like, I don't expect her to know us. Like it's not the whole ego thing of like her not knowing us because I fully expect that because I've heard, through the grapevine she's not even like a huge horror fan and she doesn't
No, I
really
don't
watch
think
horror.
she is
Yes,
she?
and she doesn't really watch horror outside of her own films. So we kind of were aware of that, but just kind of the way she said it was very dismissive and a bit rude, and it kind of just really hurt their feelings because it's someone they idolized, someone they looked up to. So they took the picture and it felt very awkward. So it's like you want to look at this picture and be like, "Oh my gosh," because it's Heather Langenkamp. It's the woman who played her friend who dies in the beginning, like the first big kill
Okay.
of the movie. Um, Jamie Lee, and then Scout and Danielle. So like epic final girls picture, three kind of versions of Halloween, like really great picture. But kind of just knowing that they just kind of she had this weird kind of attitude towards them, just really kind of is a bit of a bummer. So they got that she didn't know them, but they kind of just were hurt by kind of how she
I
approached them.
I do not want to see this blown up larger than it needs to be, I don't think. Personally. I think this is really just kind of a probably ridiculously tiring day for Jamie Lee
Yeah.
Curtis. Jamie Lee Curtis, admittedly, like, yes, we often think of our favorite celebrities as, oh, they're always going to be nice, but they're not. The people.
Yeah,
People
they're
get
people.
in
They have
weird
frustrations. They get
moods.
tired. Yeah.
People get tired. People get in bad moods. People say things that maybe they shouldn't have said in certain ways. But it's not as though she's told them, "No, we're not doing this. Get out of my face." Now, if she'd have said something like, "Okay," I would be saying that's a bit unnecessary.
Yes.
But she's kind of just gone, "I don't really know those. Okay." They've had the picture. Yes, okay, it looks like a bit of an awkward photograph,
Yeah.
sure, but it's not been totally dismissed. So I'm not jumping down the throat of an actor I greatly admire for just a bit of maybe tired u
Yeah,
unthoughtfulness,
and I
you know?
mean, I I n I saw this get kinda more traction when they did talk about it on their podcast, and they never talked about it from a, like, Jamie Lee Curtis is a bitch kind of aspect. They talked about it just kinda they were just had their feelings hurt a little bit.
No, but you know
Just
how
that
some
kinda
people are gonna
yeah.
be with it though, don't you?
Yeah,
Because
so
people
people
like
so
to
kind of the outlets
get
that have now
aggressive.
since kind of talked about this after hearing what they had to say have kind of manipulated it into like a, "Oh my
Exactly.
gosh, she's a terrible person, this and that, and oh my
Which is
gosh, she
just
dissed
not
them," and
true, is it?
yeah, so just something I thought was interesting
Oh, it's interesting. Oh, yeah.
yeah, because I saw that picture and I thought it was so cool, and so then in kind of hearing that it was this very awkward thing, and these girls who have kind of made their own kind of legacy, they have their own huge kind of fan base and backing in the horror community. Like the horror community really loves Danielle Harris.
Even in the
Um,
Halloween community, not
Yes, there
even
are
in
people
just
who absolutely love the Rob Zombie films and what they
yeah.
did with the franchise. So, they have their own kind of, following and love and deserve respect in terms of kind of, being strong women in the horror franchise. So, yeah,
Absolutely.
and it's someone they kind of look up to. So I kind of understand where they were coming from and I appreciated that they didn't even really really want to talk about it. I think they had talked about how they recorded that whole episode and then they decided they needed to probably just do it again because they didn't want it to be misconstrued, but they did want to be kind of honest with, their fans and stuff. So yeah, I feel bad that they, kind of got their feelings hurt in terms of somebody they idolize kind of being a bit dismissive to them. But yeah, I get your kind of take on, I don't know if the media and other outlets and kind of the social world of TikTok and whatnot have kind of blown it up
Yes.
to be a little bit bigger than it needs to be. But
Yeah.
yeah, I wish she would have kind of just approached them differently because she could have definitely said to them, "Oh, I didn't really watch those movies, but thank you for your kind words, and then let's take this picture."
I mean, ultimately, you don't know that that isn't exactly what she said. You're just hearing off somebody that we don't often tell. I know it's not coming from a particularly massively negative place, but we don't often tell the exact details of every single story we tell, do we? So
Yes.
I
Well,
don't know. I don't
I
know. I am just unwilling to blow things up like so many people, as you've just said, TikTok people, Twitter people, random
yeah.
showbiz news outlets like to just extremize everything
Yes.
and just for clicks, for views, for whatever it may be. And
Yes.
I am not. I have integrity. No, I am not going to do that. I am just going to say, yeah, okay, she probably could have been a bit nicer by the sounds of it, but it's Jamie Lee Curtis, and to be fair, we are talking levels here of kind of does Jamie
Yes,
Lee
but
does
in
Jamie Lee
terms
not
of
deserve to be a little bit? I'm
yes, but I
Jamie
mean,
Lee. Look at me. I'm
in
great.
terms of levels
Yeah,
though,
just a little bit.
it's people who appreciate you, who respect you, who you mean something to. So,
Oh no, of
I think
course,
it's
yes.
yeah, and she wouldn't be on this level without people
No,
like that.
it is true. It is absolutely
So,
true. That is a
I
fair
think you
point.
can see where I'm leaning a little bit, but I get both sides of it, but I just, in
I'm like
listening to
this
the
with
podcast,
sports
listening to
people.
these ladies kind of talk about it, I could tell they were very hesitant to even bring it up. They really didn't diss her or talk negatively about her. They just talked about how she approached them made them feel. So yeah, I just don't appreciate kind of the world taking that and turning it into like this bigger kind of discussion. But
Yeah, I get
yeah.
that.
Yeah,
But
so
no,
just interesting thing that hate came up because I saw that picture and I thought it was so cool, and then kind of getting that backstory was kind of a bummer. But
it is a little bit. It
it is
is.
the Hollywood machine and people on the levels, like you said. So things like that are gonna
Yeah.
happen.
Like I said though, I'm like this with sports people as well. Say when like people meet sports people but there's certain ones that are just naturally going to be very self-confident. And there's a fine line
Yes.
between kind of positive arrogance and negative arrogance, a very, very fine
Yeah.
line.
Yeah.
Um, and it's just which way you choose. If you carry yourself with yes, look at me, I'm great, look at all this that I've done, and you can back it up with actually what you've done,
Yeah.
I don't mind that. I don't mind that if you're backing it up. If you
And just
then
kind of,
if you don't back it up, if you're really just kind of a show off for no real reason, then I don't like you. But
yeah.
if you have thoroughly succeeded in whatever entertainment field you may have thoroughly
Yeah, you've
succeeded in,
kind of earned the
and you're
right
a
to feel a
little
little
bit
yeah.
confident in yourself, or just a little bit kind of self-focused, I don't think there's anything ridiculously wrong with that. I think
Inherently
that's
wrong
kind
with
of
that. Yeah,
fair
I think
enough,
that's fair.
you
Yes, I
know?
think that's fair.
I don't know.
But to move on to a little bit of a worse situation with a
Oh, yeah,
celebrity.
yeah, a lot a bit of a worse one.
Yes. Lots of reports now coming forward about Bill Murray and misconduct on his end. I knew about the Lucy Liu situation with Charlie's Angels, how he didn't really get along with her, how he kind of was just very rude to her. So I didn't know any more of the extent of any kind of like physical kind of thing or, violent kind of thing, just very kind of difficult to work with. I thought that was kind of the the mistreatment between him and her, and I think I had
Yeah.
since heard that they had kinda made peace over the years. So, that was kind of the one big thing, and then just him kind of his whole falling out with Harold Ramis over something seemingly kind of innocuous. So yeah, I had heard things about him being difficult to work with in terms of his attitude, but now when it's coming out more kind of sexual harassment type things and drug abuse things
Yes.
against his ex-wife and his whole thing with Seth Green throwing him, when he was a little kid, grabbing him by his ankle and putting him in
Yeah.
a dumpster and telling him he's trash. And then
I mean,
just
there's
seeing that creepy interview on the Arsenio Hall show where he's
yeah.
just groping Gina Davis. He's actively groping her in this interview while she's telling a story about how he sexually harassed her. That he like pinned her up against a wall and pulled her shirt out of her pants and was like trying to tickle her stomach. Meanwhile, he's just like grabbing at her in this interview. And I'm just like, oh
It's very
no. Like I had never
strange.
seen this. I had never heard about
No.
this. That movie they were talking about, I had never even heard of that movie. Um, but yeah, oh my gosh, it was just very uncomfortable and just very disheartening because he's kind of this beloved figure in comedy and, just yeah, just
Absolutely is. I mean,
great. Like, so it's not a
he's
surprise that, because this is there are so many men in Hollywood, women in Hollywood who have been problematic, and those things have just kind of been swept under the rug because it was in a time where people weren't really paying attention to those things or could write those things off. But now with the kind of very vocal judgment of social media, these things are now kind of coming to light and so
oh
yeah, not
yeah.
not surprising in that aspect that a Hollywood person did something kind of creepy or very creepy.
Well, no,
But just in
no,
terms
but
of who
it
it
is.
is and to that extent, it was just very disheartening.
It is always. It is always disheartening when you hear things of this nature. I mean, look, for God's sake, we love old Hollywood, and there's plenty of just
Oh yeah, problematic
terrible stuff
situations,
going on.
treatment, yeah, Hitchcock and
Treatment of
all kinds,
people.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there really, really, really is. Um, there's there's still a lot to be said, I think, for having an ability to separate art from artist, and I think
Yeah.
it goes from individual viewer to individual viewer and your own personal kind of mindset of how
Yeah,
these things
definitely.
are, and it goes from individual case of perpetrator to individual case of perpetrator, um, and it's
And like even
entirely
situations if they've
individual in that sense. It's
yes, and
very,
if they've tried to
very
make amends, yeah.
correct. It's it's you'd never watch anything again, and I think it's probably that bad, really,
Yeah, if
historically in
you really
Hollywood.
kind of look at
You'd
it, yeah.
barely ever watch anything,
Yeah.
um, if you were so
Against these,
uptight about everything
yeah,
like this.
mhm.
But it is important to voice things like this, especially when it's now turned out to be plainly obvious
Yes,
and
I mean, that was an
plainly
interview that was on TV that people saw and just laughed it off as like a joke.
but plainly obvious, consistent, and I think that's the big thing. I think one discrepancy, if you move on from that, if you improve yourself
Yeah.
from that, this is more
Okay, that there's
understandable.
something yeah. Yeah.
If it is consistent over decades by the looks of it, yes, we have an issue. And
Yes, if you've been
unfortunately,
told that it's
we
a problem, if you've been told it makes people uncomfortable and you still continue to do it
yeah,
as well, yeah.
and unfortunately, it kinda looks like
Yeah, so
this is an
very
issue, and let's not kid ourselves. I mean, we enjoy his movies. He is the lead of your favorite movie.
yeah.
Well,
One of yeah.
certainly one of,
Yes.
um, which is kind of harsh.
Yeah.
To you personally in your own mind,
Yeah.
this is a cutting blow, and this is the unfortunate thing when things like this come to light. Um, I hadn't really got any idea that any of this had ever gone on. I hadn't even heard about any of this Charlie's Angels stuff.
Yeah, like he was very kind of negative towards Lucy Liu. He didn't like her. He would tell her kind of, that she was a terrible actress and just tell her terrible things. But I think I had heard over the years since even after making the movie, like they kind of there was an apology and like they had made peace, but she had talked for years about how he was just kind of he was terrible to her. And so then, obviously then the sequel, it wasn't him in the next film. So,
No, I
yeah,
suppose
that
we
was kind of
see.
the main thing that I had heard about, but I had always heard that like, they made peace about it and it was fine. But
I suppose we see where this may go from here.
yeah, he's already
Um,
kind of lost some jobs and things like
yeah,
that. So,
but we see where it may go in a more kind of potentially legal sense.
yeah.
Potentially legal sense. We will see where this may go from here. Um, but it's not great of a situation. It's a really bad
No.
looking
And I think
situation.
it's definitely gonna have some effects, I think. I mean, just if we're talking about just in general, like we see what's happening right now with David O. Russell. Amsterdam, this
Yeah,
movie with a huge stacked cast, totally bombed. And it's probably
yeah,
due to all of that information about him being very abusive and all of that coming to light.
yeah, and
That,
and, and this is again, this is kind of, it's reasonable. I think people that are consistently the same type of dreadful to other people
Yes, and he hasn't seemed to
shouldn't
make
be
any amends,
supported.
and he hasn't seemed to make any amends either for any of that.
No,
So, I think that's a big
and
part that
it's
plays into those things, and there hasn't been any time to kind of sit with it and
no,
figure it out, and it's very much a recency bias kind of thing as well playing into it
and
because this news came out, it was fresh on everybody's mind, and then this movie came out.
this is a
So,
very important point.
yeah,
Recency hurts. Recency hurts our perception of these people more,
yeah,
because if we are more aware of these people, if things happen now and we see them now, we are going to look at something that's potentially objectively less bad than someone did in the 30s or the
yeah,
40s, because we don't know that,
yeah,
because we haven't been there for that. So I'm not going to come here and bring up all the dreadful things people in Hollywood may or
because
may not
yeah,
have done in the 30s and the 40s, because I don't want to just turn this into a horrendously negative
yeah,
thing. I am somebody that likes celebrating old Hollywood and finding the good
good things
in
in it, yeah.
old Hollywood and finding the good generally in
And
in
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 terms of
in
things,
everything.
yes.
I
And
like doing that.
you have to kind of think about the time as well of like when, what was
You,
happening
I
at the
mean,
time, how society played things in the time and stuff like that. So,
you do,
yeah,
yes.
just very disappointing to kind of hear the
It doesn't,
extent of what he's being accused of and what
yeah.
he's obviously kind of done. So, just such a bummer because you know,
And look, time doesn't, or being in a certain time doesn't make things correct, or make things
yes.
right.
So hopefully he
Just
can,
because something was
so
done in
hopefully
a
he can
time
make
where, sorry, just because something was done in a time where it was potentially more
actually
publicly acceptable does not still make it correct.
doesn't but I'm just saying in terms of like obviously those things were more prevalent in certain times because it was
Oh,
perfectly acceptable,
absolutely.
Yeah. So
No,
and
that's
now
what
is
I'm
the
saying,
time
but it,
where
it
it's
doesn't
not.
make it
So
correct.
yes, yes. So just very disappointing to hear, and we'll see kind of where his career goes from here. If he learns anything from this
Yeah.
situation, if he tries to make any kind of amends, we will see. But very, very disappointing
But I
to
mean,
hear.
surely, ultimately, he's been coming towards the end of his career anyway.
Anyway, yeah, I think that's why Brad is taking that dip out as well because he knew this kind of shitstorm of
Yeah.
information about him was going to be coming out. Because I mean, I think Bullet Train did fairly well because that information was still kind of speculated. There wasn't any kind of concrete thing about it. And now it's like, I guess, transcripts of whatever really happened between him and Angelina have come forward, making him appear to be a very violent person towards his children, towards her. So, I mean, his final film, Babylon, I feel like it's probably going to be a similar situation to Amsterdam. So I'm sorry to you, Margot Robbie, for these these
No,
projects you're picking.
I'm not just sorry to Margot Robbie,
So
I'm sorry to me, because I was really looking forward to that
yes.
movie.
Yes. So we'll see, if that is another casualty of kind of
Yeah,
information resurfacing and things like that. But yeah,
because
just
ultimately, things can be forgiven if, like, sincere public apologies and sincere public rectification is seen and made. Things can be forgiven of this light. It does not. I don't know. It's a tough situation. It's a tough situation in any and every instance, and it really
yes.
is. And I don't love talking about it, because I don't love talking about negative things. But sometimes you have to. It's what's happened,
Yeah. So
and
that's
I
why
I,
I
I I
like to
don't
get
like
these things.
focusing on.
Yeah. That's why I like to get these things
Try
out
and
of
be
the
good,
way.
people.
Yes, please. Please.
Just try and be good. I'm sorry if we're having a bit of kind of technical
Yes, I
issues.
apologies.
Um, I think it's fine. I think it's okay. I
Okay.
think everything's fine. But yes, what I mean, do we have other things to talk about? Were we
We
finished talking
do.
about that?
Yes, about the awfulness, but we did get, a new trailer for Creed 3.
Yes. Here was
Yes,
my
which was
concern with
which was
Rocky Balboa having died,
yes,
possibly.
because he is not in this trailer, he's nowhere to be seen. He references Rocky, and they don't kind of, like, cut to, like, a flashback of him or anything like that. He just is Rocky, and then we move forward, and then he says, "My dad," and then they actually flash to, like, Creed's grave. So the fact that they don't he just says Rocky and there's no flash to him or flashback to a moment from the other Creed films, or we see him with Rocky or anything. I'm just worried, you look at the IMDb. IMDb is very much kind of in cahoots with us studio. So if there's something that they don't want you to know, it's not going to be in the IMDb.
Yeah.
So,
And why wouldn't I mean, it wouldn't
so
be
why would it
it
be a
wouldn't be something that was
surprise?
hidden, would it? It wouldn't be something
Exactly,
that would
because,
be shocking.
this is a direct off of his films. He was in the first 2 films, so why would him being in this film be any kind of shock or surprise? So really kind of disappointing to not have any kind of glimpse of Rocky as a mentor figure in this movie. So, but overall, I'm excited, to see the story. I saw many videos of a woman having the wonderful job of getting to oil down Jonathan Majors. And I saw, like, "Oh, how do I get this job?" And I was wondering what it was for. It is for this movie. So I think a lot of people were also wondering why he was getting so buff, because Kang is pretty well covered up. So, uh
Yeah, I mean, people are getting so people weren't they? They were looking at these photographs of Jonathan Majors and going, "Oh my god,
yeah,
Kang
why is
the
he what is he getting
Conqueror's
so
going
big
to be
for?
so huge in Ant-Man Quantum." It's like,
Yeah, he's
it's
gonna be
not for
yoked.
that. It's
Yes.
not for that. It's for this, because he's playing a boxer, an old
An old
friend
friend,
of Adonis Creed.
a
It's this
brother
Creed
figure to
3.
him.
This time it's personal. This is what this is gonna be.
Yes, yes.
Creed
So,
3. This time it's actually about Creed and not Rocky. Maybe that's
yes,
why.
and
Maybe
my
that's why. Maybe that's
maybe.
why Rocky's doesn't seem to be appearing in this movie, even though we still view this series of movies as the Rocky Creed movies, don't we? We do. It's still the Rocky movies. It's still the same thing, and they'll always be the Rocky movies. We'll call them the Rocky Creed movies, sure, but first and foremost, they will always be the Rocky movies.
Yes. So I mean, I can understand them focusing more on Creed and have it be his story, and Rocky's, in Philly, he's in LA or whatever, so maybe that's
Yeah,
why.
this makes
And he's
doubly
he's
more
too,
sense.
he's too old, cancer survivor, he's not going to want to travel.
Exactly.
Maybe we'll get a phone call or he'll show up at the end at the
Quite
big
possibly.
match.
Quite
So, but
possibly.
it's just very kind of like, even just, he's talking about Rocky flash to a little clip of Rocky, make us feel good about something, So yeah, that was kind of weird. But this one is actually directed by Michael B. Jordan, his
And this
directorial debut. So really exciting. Ryan Coogler producing, so he's going to have that kind of guiding eye. So yeah, I'm really excited for that aspect of it, and
it
it's going
is
to be a
very
great story.
exciting.
And him and Jonathan Majors, I think that the kind of chemistry there is going to be really electric. So I'm really excited.
It is it is exciting to see Michael B. Jordan stepping into the director's chair, or
Yeah.
sitting down in the director's chair. You don't really
Yeah.
step into a chair. You don't know why that's a saying. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, right?
Um, but it does make sense. It does make doubly more sense as to why this may be why Rocky Balboa may not be in this movie, because
Yeah.
Adonis Creed is Michael B. Jordan. Michael B. Jordan loves this character.
Yeah.
This has been, this has been a massive part of Michael B. Jordan's career for 8 years now.
Yeah.
And do you know what I love about these as well is that you don't, I didn't necessarily think a Creed 3 was going to come out, but the way they've kind of paced their movies out. Creed was 2015, and we've
Oh
only
my
had
gosh.
one movie since that, and that was what,
Yeah.
2018 or they're like
Something like
3
that,
and
yeah,
4
mhm.
years between,
Mhm.
sometimes
Each
like 5
movie.
years. Like, this feels refreshing. This is like what actual Rocky did when it was, what was it like? Rocky 2
Mm,
was 80 after
yeah.
76,
Mhm. So
and
this
then
kind of
Rocky
nice
3 was
long.
83.
Yeah, Rocky lets you miss him a little bit before kinda
He
coming back again,
does.
and Creed
Rocky 3
definitely
was
did that.
83, Rocky 4 was 87. This is the thing. This is long periods of time
Yeah, you miss a
between
character that you
sequels.
loved, you have time, and it makes you feel like they really put time into a story because
It
you could come
does, it does.
up if something's big and popular, you come up with the sequel the very next year, and it feels rushed, and it doesn't feel earned, and there's really ridiculous character choices that depart from what we loved because you're just trying to recreate the magic from a year prior. But if when you see that there's been kind of a little break, you see that people have given those characters time and they really maybe worked on crafting a really good story and stuff like that. So, yeah, I like the length of time in between this. It makes me really kind of feel like they really have put a lot of time and effort into this story.
Yeah,
So
I
I'm
do like
excited.
that.
I'm really excited for this one. So it comes out in March, 3
March,
3
I think,
twenty
yes.
three.
And
So
I think we in Britain will end up getting this at exactly the same time, because I think it's too big a movie. It's
yeah,
not like all these horror movies recently that we're just getting not at the
all kind of
same time,
random.
because they're all tiny little movies.
Yeah.
We will get that at the exact same time, so I'm sure we'll be talking about that
Yes.
down the line in March when it comes out, because I love the Rocky movies. I love the Creed movies. I love that world and I'm not like a massive boxing fan or anything like that, but
No, me neither, but
you really don't need
no.
to be a fan of Rocky and Creed.
Yes, I mean, I remember when Creed was coming out, like, I saw the trailer and that got me hyped, and I had never really seen any of the Rocky movies, and that's what made me go back and watch the Rocky movies, and I'm like, "I don't think I'm gonna like these." And so,
They're
like,
really
I
great.
literally was like, Thanksgiving weekend, I binged all of the Rocky movies and then went to go see Creed that weekend, and it was such a fun experience. I fell in love with those movies. Just so much, inspiration. You love the characters, the story. It's very emotional and fun, and yeah, like I was not expecting to go into Rocky like in those movies. I was like, I'm just doing this, but Creed will make sense. But then I ended up having such a platform for the Rocky movies and going to Creed and seeing how well connected of a legacy sequel it was. So yeah, they've really built something great off of what kind of Stallone started. So I'm really excited for
They
this
have.
franchise and where they've been able to take it, and just so hyped for this movie.
Yes, absolutely. Again, I will apologize for any
Yeah,
technical,
sorry if I cut out
weird
there. I see my
robot voice things we
yeah.
have.
Yeah.
Some things cannot be avoided, and,
Yes, my
we
internet
hate it.
is not my friend right now, but we're trying, we're
Well, we
trying.
are, certainly. Um, but no, they're great movies. They're cheeseball when they want to be
Yes.
cheeseball, and they are very, very heartfelt when they want to be heartfelt and legitimately great. I mean, you forget that Rocky itself won the Best Picture. They are a wonderful, wonderful series of movies. And the Creed, the two Creed movies, yes, okay, I think Creed 2 was trying to bring a little bit of the cheeseball nature that
Yeah.
Rocky 4 brought, because it's Drago and all the situation of that coming back. I think this movie, because it seems more personal, like I said, Creed 3 this time it's personal, because Jonathan Majors looks to be playing an old friend of Adonis Creed, who's been in prison for a long time.
Yes, and he
Um,
didn't get the life that, Creed was warranted because,
yes, and
you
apparently Jonathan
what
Majors
his name
was the better boxer in his youth and all this business.
Yes, and doesn't feel like Adonis really, earned any of that or deserves any of that.
Yes. So
Yes.
there's gonna be some intensity to this one, and I like that. I
Yeah.
like that. Now, obviously, I'm going to watch it for one reason and one reason only, and this reason is
Is
Jeannine,
Tessa Thompson.
is Tessa Thompson. I have to bring it up. I have to bring it up. I'm sorry.
Yes,
She's not the
no, I
only
mean,
reason I'm going to watch the
did I
movie,
not just talk
obviously, but
about how I wish I had that job of oiling down Jonathan Majors?
yeah,
Like,
but I'm not going to go and
I'll do
say
it.
I
I'll
wish
do
I
it.
had. I'm not going to go and say that.
No, see, you can't say that, but I can. I
Okay,
mean, it's a job. It's a literal job somebody had.
I'll be. I don't know. I'll be Tessa
You could
Thompson's
just fan
PA.
her. You could just fan her.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah.
I'll do that. That's fine. I'll be Tessa Thompson's PA and just bring her anything she wants, because I just think this is
Yes.
appropriate. So it's like, here you go.
Yes.
I'm gonna run away now. Bye.
Yes.
If
But
I
yeah,
ever met Tessa Thompson, it would definitely be that kind of
you just
horrendously red-faced situation. I'd just
yes.
like to make everybody aware of that.
You would hide. You would fall sink
I
into your
would hide
turtleneck.
so
You would
hard.
sink into your turtleneck.
Yes, I would. I'd be
Like
like,
an
I can't
actual
do this.
like an
Help,
actual
help.
turtle.
I can't do this. Help. Somebody help me.
Yes, you would
I
definitely have
would
your
need help.
turtleneck living up to the name turtleneck and just
Yeah, definitely.
yes.
Anyway, enough of my fondness for Tessa Thompson. She's great. She's great in those movies anyway. She's great
Yes.
in those movies anyway, but obviously they are Michael B. Jordan's movies as the focus.
Yes.
And he's been wonderful in them as well. And I'm thoroughly looking forward to Creed 3. This trailer looks very, very good.
Yes, and him directing. I'm really excited to see that. So, yeah. But
Applause. Applause for the hype of Creed 3.
yes.
Applause for the beauty of Tessa Thompson. And okay, Jonathan Majors, because
Yes.
admittedly he is an absurdly attractive human being.
He is very much so.
Or good looking. Yes, he is.
Yes.
Has to be said.
So, let's get into the biggie of today.
The biggie, the full review. Yes, okay. This will be clipped up, won't it, and put as a separate
Yes.
video, I'm sure, of that. This is our Black Adam review.
So, right off the bat, I'm going to say I was not really excited about this movie. Like, the trailers weren't really doing anything for me. I was already a bit disheartened about kind of the state of DC at this time, with
Yes,
Zaz laugh and all his weird
that's
kind
not
of
his name.
comments.
We know full well the man's name is Mr. Zorboff.
Zorboff. Okay.
We have to refer to him as the evil Emperor Zurg. That's his name as
Yes,
well.
yes. So yeah, all his weird commentary he was making about his plans for DC, canceling things. I don't know. Like I was looking at this trailer and I'm like, it looks fine, but for whatever reason, I'm just not excited. Uh,
And
so
this is within reason, though. This is entirely
yes, so it wasn't like
within
anything
reason.
against the movie. It was just literally Yes, it just wasn't doing anything for me, these trailers, and I wasn't as excited as I had hoped to be or was expecting to be. But it wasn't, of course, until The Rock kind of spilled a little bit of tea, which I think he was just kind of
Yes.
saying a lot because he was really proud of this get that he was able to get. In kind of seeing Coy's interview with him and seeing Coy talk about his interview with him, Coy Jandreau, he talks a lot about how The Rock kind of maybe was spilling a little more than he should have because he was just really excited that he was able to do this for the fans.
I
That he
do
was
think a lot more than he should have, to be perfectly honest with you,
yes, which
because
we
really, it would have been so really, really celebratory if I mean, of course, we are going to get into
spoilers,
spoilers about
yes.
Black Adam and these type of situations in this particular review right now. I think that goes without saying, but we
Yes.
do have to say it, of course, because the particular get that Dwayne Johnson was able to get for the mid credits of this movie was, in fact, a not weirdly cut in from another year's
Not a
filming. It was an
headless
actual,
yeah,
not a
not a
headless
headless
version
yeah.
of, was actual present today Henry Cavill as Superman in
Yes.
this movie directly, which is enormous when you look at the problems that has surrounded
DC.
the well DC and
Eh,
DC's attitude towards
towards
Henry
Henry
Cavill.
Cavill and Superman, like, he was a great casting, if they didn't like what Snyder was doing with the character, it's not the character's fault, it's not the
Yeah.
actor's fault. He's going with this dark, brooding thing that Snyder was kind of putting him in. So just get another director that has a more kind of light, nature that fits that character that also kind of can get those darker aspects, but the kind of lighter, wholesome side of Superman as well. Um, but I think that because of those movies, particularly his first film, Man of Steel, was very kind of self-serious. They put that on
Yeah.
Cavill and this
Po
and
po
it I
look,
think it was mostly
possibly.
Walter Hamada and his choices he was very much against. He wanted to keep it very vague in terms of Henry Cavill as Superman, and he was kind of the one behind wanting to recast with the black Superman and all of these kinds of things. So, yeah, I just don't know why they kind of just, pushed him off to the side like that, not giving him his own standalone sequel to kind of grow the character and grow his world a little bit more. They just jumped straight into, BVS, which was just ridiculous and felt very rushed. So,
Well, look, it appears that even as we're talking about this right now, um, that a further Superman movie with Henry Cavill is on the cards again,
yes,
which
yes.
is exciting, to be honest with you, because it is a casting I like a lot. I really do, and admittedly, they are movies that I tend to like, and I'm not getting into arguments with people, and thankfully, you don't want to get into arguments of this kind of nature either.
No.
But they are admittedly movies I kind of really do quite enjoy. Um, Ultimately, while I wish that this little very impressive get in the mid credits, this showing this in the mid credits of this movie had have been kept completely secret. When it was painfully obvious about 10 days ago, unfortunate, or 10
Which
days
they
before the
actually
movie's
I
released.
heard they filmed it like as late as Labor Day weekend, like in September.
I see. I don't know when Labor Day is.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
uh,
in September. This is when they filmed
Really?
this. Yes.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah,
That is
mhm.
impressive then. I
Yeah,
mean,
like September
you can
1st,
see
beginning of September.
you can really see why the excitement was there from Dwayne Johnson then. I
Yeah.
understand it. I understand it. I understand if he couldn't have helped himself because admittedly, look, there's a lot there's a lot riding on Black Adam, and I don't think we should be saying things like oh, this changes DC movies forever. I don't think we should be
No.
over exaggerating things like that. Ultimately, what are my feelings towards the movie? I had quite a pleasantly enjoyable time watching this movie. I do not think this movie is anything particularly overly special. I do not think this movie is any sort of
Changes the
game
face of
changer.
yeah, comic book
No,
movies, anything
I
like
do
that.
not think this movie is the next big thing for DC or any of these overly hyped up titles that you may be seeing certain news outlets give. I think it is a really quite enjoyable movie that is exactly the kind of attitude that Warner Brothers and DC should be having towards their franchise, quote unquote, movies. Because I'm sure I've said this before on this show, not can't have been that long ago. What I think DC should be doing with their movies is exactly what this movie did, is have certain actors who play certain characters show up in various movies, not really focus on any sort of big overarching story continuity from movie to movie.
Yeah.
Use the characters that are available to them in in the movies where they can. I mean, look at what this movie did. You
Yes,
got
you
this
get the subtle
Justice Society,
interconnectivity. Mhm.
but you get the Justice Society, who we've never met in any sort of
No,
movie before. Nobody has any clue who they are unless you really know your DC comics.
but you're not
But
even asking about
but
where
you're
they
not
came from, where
bothered.
were they, what were they doing?
No,
Like,
and
you
you're
don't
not.
really care because
You
the
don't
story they set
care,
up around it leads you to just not need to know that. You just kind of
and
can
that
just go off assumption of,
yes, and that is what it is. It is not caring in a negative sense of, "Oh, who are these people? I don't care, I'm not interested." It is not caring because the movie just presents them as new things. It is just
yes,
or the movie, in fact, doesn't even present them as new things. The movie presents them as things that are in this kind of world, but
that
you're
have
just
been
being introduced to
established
them now.
yes, they've always been there. We just
They've
doing things.
always been there.
We've just never, been privy to
Exactly.
their doings that are
And
happenings.
this is, I think, just such a really good way of going about it. And having Viola Davis as Amanda Waller show up in there as well, just for
Yes,
that little tiny bit of,
of
yes, we're using some of the
interconnectivity.
same
Yeah,
yes, we're using some of the same actors in some of the same roles, and this is great. This is what should be happening.
and I'm
And
looking up
because
her name, I don't remember,
we're so
yes.
used to seeing the way Marvel do things with hyper focused interconnectivity and story continuity
Yeah,
that just makes that is so precise
yes.
that we're too used to that. We're too used to that, so we think it's the only way of going about things. It's not
And
the only way
DC
of going
felt
about
like yeah, and DC felt like that was the only way they could keep up with Marvel was to do this deep interconnectivity. But if you just pepper in these characters, it feels very much like reading a comic book. Comic books sometimes have
absolutely.
very connective stories, some and continuity. Sometimes they don't and they veer off, but you're gonna see the same characters popping
Yeah,
in and out of
sometimes
other
someone just
people's
randomly shows up in a comic
exactly.
book or
So
or
even
you know
down
because they're
to
there.
that blonde woman, Harcourt, who when they first kind of capture Black Adam and they, take him to, the headquarters or whatever,
Or yes, the Task Force X space.
yes. Yes. So her and she has plays a lot of a bigger part in Peacemaker, which you haven't watched yet, I
Ah,
believe. Yes. So like even just seeing her pop in, it's like, okay, this is very much connected in a connective world, but I don't need any kind of bigger picture situation.
yeah.
Also by the like it was very much by the numbers. I
Oh,
believe The Rock the
much,
Rock
very,
was
very much
cast.
so.
Yes, The Rock was cast in this role like 16 years ago, and this movie very much felt like a movie that would have come out 16 years ago. And I'm perfectly okay with that as somebody who really had a love and appreciation for the good, the bad, the ugly of that early era of comic book movies.
Yes, early
Like
to mid
I
2000s.
yes, I
Right,
mean,
yeah.
they were ridiculous. They had some really dumb choices, but it was the effort in kind of trying to bring something as complex as comic book stories to life, and I really had such a huge appreciation for that.
But do you know what
So,
it also was? It was not
your
just the effort.
Fantastic Four and your Daredevils and all the
Yeah.
iterations of Batman and Superman and I appreciated that because it was these cool characters and that effort to try to make them real to you. So,
Yes, and it's not just that that's the positive on those movies though. Another positive on those kind of movies, the that era of superhero movies, is the fact that you watched them and you took them at face value as just, oh, what they were.
yes.
If something was a bad movie, okay, it's an objectively kind of naff movie, kind of poorly done movie, but you still just take it like, "Oh my
And you
god,
have
look at
fun with
these."
it.
You just have fun with
Yes.
it, don't you?
Yes, you're getting your cheesy
Affleck's
winks.
Daredevil.
Yes, you're getting your catchphrases and your corny winks to the camera and your incessant needle drops and your cheesy jokes and, your bombastic action and your slightly gummy CGI, but you're yeah, it's definitely doing those things that early superhero movies were doing with, your catchphrases and your winks to the camera. And, I still had fun with those things. I'm not stressing about why is he speaking perfect English? Like, I just gotta go with it,
No,
you know?
no. Why is it in, like, random I mean, you don't even know where is Kandak? I don't know where it's
Yeah,
supposed to be.
no.
Do you know where it's supposed to be? Does it
No,
matter?
no.
No! This is the good thing about it, because and again, I'm kind of I'm not ragging on Marvel, that's the wrong term, but
I mean, you can rag on Marvel at
I'm
work,
not
but
doing
it's
I'm not doing that, but as wonderful and obviously as wonderful as the MCU is, has been, and continues to be, it has made the population be way too serious about this kind of movie,
yeah.
and has moved away from what these kind of movies were in the even in the even with the really good ones, the Spider-Man trilogy, the X-Men movies, you know, you had stuff like Ang Lee's Hulk and the Daredevil and Elektra and the
Yes.
Fantastic Four things,
Yes. Mhm.
and,
Your
you know
several iterations of the Batman and
oh, yeah, it just
your
bizarre
2006
things,
Superman. Yeah, mhm.
Punisher movies and things like this.
Yeah.
Yes, Superman Returns and things like this, where you just took them as individuals, and I think that's just should be what they're taken as, or certainly what DC should now be taking theirs as. Not strict individuals, but
No,
this really kind of smartly small way of
interconnectivity.
mixing
Yes, because yeah,
should be
like we
exactly what
mentioned,
they're doing.
great seeing Amanda Waller pop in, seeing Harcourt pop in, characters that have been established in other films in this greater universe. Um, and they're just there because they were in other films, but they're not completely tied to any kind of bigger story with those films.
Yeah,
So it works. I mean, I think if you watch Peacemaker, they actually had a scene where the Justice League shows up. Obviously, again, it was another in shadow Superman, but
okay.
but they were there
Yeah,
because,
y
and to kind of be like, okay, they are part of this universe.
this is what
Just
you don't need to know when in
just like
time everything
Shazam.
happened.
Yeah, like in Shazam, you have characters who are fans of this Justice League and these versions of these characters that have had their own films. They're established in this world
Yeah,
enough that people are fans of them and have posters and have memorabilia and things like that,
exactly. People
but
talk about them.
yes.
The kid in this movie's constantly talking about how much he
Yes.
loves superheroes.
But we're not inherently connecting it to those stories in any kind of way. Those things happened in that thing, but it's all in loosely in this universe, and I think that really worked for it, and really kind of playing with this, very much decades past kind of mentality,
Yeah.
in terms of telling the story, uh, really, I think worked in its benefit. I mean, I had a lot of fun with it. I wasn't thinking too hard about anything. they were kind of throwing a lot of action at you, which just made it feel like very much like that era and very fun. So it was just an easy watch, an easy superhero watch to where I wasn't having to do homework or think back on other things or feel too serious about things. And yeah, there were some interesting themes in there about anti-heroes
Yeah.
and what makes you a good guy and what makes you a bad guy and that kind of thing. So they did have a really interesting kind of deeper through line surrounded by all of the fun that you would get from an early era superhero movie, and it wasn't taking itself too self-seriously, and you
No.
could tell that the people doing it really were having fun and really cared about what they were doing, and the moments that were supposed to hit, and, you know yeah, I think they just did a good job really kind of playing, in this kind of new vibe of not being super serious and, not tying themselves or anchoring themselves to other aspects of this universe.
I would say in an odd way, it feels unusually fresh for being such a
Kind of old feeling.
typical movie.
Yeah.
Like, it's
It's
ridiculously
fresh
easy
for
to plot
DC
out
because
the structure.
yes.
It's ridiculously easy to understand what's going to probably happen in this movie. It's
Yes.
it's painted in front of you 20 minutes before it happens. It's so obvious, but in that way, doesn't it just feel like something that you kind of want? I understand superhero fatigue is a massive thing, and this might not help that because it is very typically structured,
Yeah.
but it is doing what the more enjoyable DC things in more recent years have
Yes.
done, what the Suicide Squad did, what Birds of Prey did,
Prey.
was
Yeah.
use characters that are established DC characters that may or may not have shown up in previous movies that this particular production team have made,
But I will say,
but without any story requirements from other
yes.
things, and you're just focusing on the story in that particular movie. The next time Black Adam shows up in a DC movie, it might not matter where he's been since the end of this movie. It probably won't matter. You might just have them no, you might just have him kind of knowing of other things, and this is fine. But you don't need to you don't need to be so precisely story focused. That is what the MCU does brilliantly well.
Yeah.
What you should do brilliantly well, DC, is what you admittedly have been more doing in more recent times. Just focusing on individual movies and making those, yes, using some of the same people because we like some of the casting choices. We
Yeah.
really, really like some of the casting choices. So use them, milk them for all they're
Yes.
worth. Milk Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn for all
Oh,
she's
yes,
worth. We
as
love
long as
her.
you can, yeah. And Amanda
John
Waller, like,
Cena as
Viola Davis.
Peacemaker, even.
Yes.
You know,
Yes. I'm really excited for you to watch that show because it has its own thing while, very loosely connecting to this universe as well. So it's definitely doing that kind of similar thing. But I feel like DC has taken 3 avenues and this is a new avenue this and kind of
yeah,
very dark and brooding camp with, the
this is the path they should be taking.
yeah.
This is 100% the path they should be taking. And I mean, to speak about the movie itself, I mean, do we kind of like what happens in the movie itself? I mean, the Justice Society themselves. Do we enjoy those? I happen to really quite like Pierce Brosnan as Doctor Fate. I know absolutely nothing about Doctor Fate, but
Yeah.
I really quite enjoyed him in
Yes,
this
a lot of
movie.
people in my screening really enjoyed him as well. But yeah, like, you have your kind of dark and brooding side of things. You have your very dark and twisted side of things with, like, the Batman and the Joker, and then you have, your very kind of light, bubbly, self-aware twisted kind of things with the Birds of Prey and your Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
And this is very much kind of in the middle of all of that. It's taking
It's
kind
in
of
the
your
Shazam vein, isn't it?
yes, it's taking your kind of, serious through line theme, but putting kind of the fun of what a comic book movie should feel like and
Yeah.
hearkening back to that early era, of fun and kind of shutting your brain off to a certain degree uh of film. So yeah, it's kind of creating this definite new avenue that's very much not too dark, not too kind of crazy, and not too twisted. It's very much very watchable, kind of for everybody. Kind of makes you feel good. Very much nostalgic and just a lot of fun.
I mean, is it interesting? Is it strange for me to say that this is doing it in the Shazam vein, given the fact that it's basically just a dark Shazam
Yes,
movie? Because that's
which
what Black Adam is.
and I'm really gonna be annoyed if they just skip over Shazam and go straight to a Superman Black Adam fight. Like, let him let him show up in
Yeah.
Shazam 3, let him be the villain in Shazam 3, and then we can kinda build up to the Superman.
It sounds like you're being a bit too presumptive, preemptive with your whole DC story situations. We've not even had Shazam 2 yet, and you're already thinking about a Shazam 3. Take the individual movies for what they are. Stop getting ahead of yourself. Stop getting ahead of yourself. Stop planning ahead. This is the problem that they've been having. They're trying to plan too far ahead. Stop it.
I
Stop it.
I'm just excited. He needs to show up in something else. He needs to have a thing with Shazam. I mean, Shazam was the magic word here. We need
I
to
mean, he
have him.
does need to have a
He
thing with
you
Shazam.
know,
He is
Zach
Shazam.
Levi Zach Levi wants to get up in the mix. Come on, like do that first and then we can build up to Superman.
They are literally two sides of the same
Yes, we
character.
had Jaimin Hansu in this
He
movie
was
popping up.
playing the same character, the same
Yes.
wizard who gave Billy Batson his powers. It is literally
Yes.
it's the same word, it's the same magic, it's the same symbol on his chest, it's
Yes.
virtually the same super suit. It's one's black and one's red. If one of Shazam's if one of Billy Batson's superhero family wore black, they would just look like Black Adam. It,
Yes.
it
And
it is he is a Shazam character first and foremost. I'm led to believe from what I understand
yes.
of
Mhm.
Black Adam. So of course I think we need those two to do something together before
Y We gotta build up to the
before
big
he does
Superman
anything
thing.
with Cavill.
Yes. But yeah,
If that ever does happen,
yes, yes. But
for God's sake, give me one more Cavill movie. He can be
on his
doing
own.
anything
Yes,
on his
please.
own, fighting an actual Superman villain.
Not
This is
being
what
mopey and depressed,
this is
please.
what we want.
I don't want any more sad Superman, please, please.
Even
Slightly
though the
tor
sad Superman was done really well, and
slightly
I like Man of Steel.
slightly emotionally tortured, okay, but, like, you know, mostly mostly kind of has the determination to push forward because of, his love of people and the world and
Well, he's got this. Well, if you go in story focus, he does have this technically now from Snyder's Justice League. He was far more up for kind of hope and humanity in that movie, even if he was wearing a suit that looked eerily similar to Black Adam's suit, but just with a hope symbol on rather than a
yeah,
lightning bolt.
this means hope.
No, I'm not talking about the other Justice League. I'm talking about the actual one that made sense. The
Yes,
one
yes.
the one that was actually released later and was really long
Yes,
and
yes.
had the whole kind of half violent fan backing behind it.
Yeah,
Um,
those people are crazy.
but
But,
I actually really quite
I
liked
did, I
Snyder's
did.
Justice League. I thought it was great.
I did as well. I really did. It gave us more Superman and worked well with him, and yeah, Henry Cavill definitely deserves this redemption. He's been treated, I think, really shoddily by DC, and
Yeah,
he definitely deserved his standalone sequel. And then we could have gotten into like building this world, but they wanted to jump the gun. They kind of totally neutered him and just in BVS and and then kind of cut him off after that because of their kind of sloppy story decisions.
yeah.
So I'm glad he's getting this chance. I'm really excited that The Rock fought for him and really wanted to give the fans this, wanted to do this for Cavill because I remember seeing pictures and like conversations between the two of them. They're, drinking their booze and having these nice conversations about Black Adam and Superman and that whole kind of vibe. And so I'm really happy that The Rock like really heard the fans out and wanted to do that for us, wanted to do that for DC and really kind of went over some heads to make this happen because I mean seeing him, I knew it was coming and I saw him and I still kind of teared up a little bit because I was just excited for Henry
I mean,
Cavill
right?
to have
Yeah.
this redemptive moment and made me very happy for him, for us as fans, because I think the majority is very positive towards his Superman, for him to get this chance. So, overall, I mean, just to kind of close out this review, I really had a lot of fun with this movie. I liked it way more than I had planned to.
So
Like I
did
said,
I.
it definitely goes back to that early era of comic book movies where you kind of don't question too much. You just are excited to see these characters come to life and have fun with it. Really great action. The new characters they introduced were really well done. I love Aldis Hodge. Like people don't talk enough about how fine that man is, and he was
I mean, yeah,
great.
we
Uh,
were talking about Jonathan Majors before as
yes, but
far as
Aldis Hodge, I
large,
mean,
muscly black men go. Aldous
yes,
Hodge is
I
also
mean,
pretty good looking.
yes. I mean, I think it came up a little bit in Invisible Man because he was like, he was very
Yeah,
like people were like, he's big.
he's
um,
big.
Yes, but
He
seeing him
is
with his,
big.
cool haircut and his, little,
His
African
Hawk
print
suit.
and his African print, I'm like, he's got like he's a little
He
fashionable,
did, yeah,
like
he
kind of
did.
leading this whole crew, like the
You know what
new
I really
characters,
did like actually about Hawkman, and I am semi-familiar with Hawkman from some comic books I have actually read. So he was the one that I actually knew
Yeah, me
better
too.
than the others of
The
the
other
Justice
two. Mhm.
Society. Hawkman's also in it. Is he not in the Justice League TV show, the animated show? Is that Hawk Girl? Is Hawk Girl in that?
I don't remember, but I know in his doesn't he pop up in one of the CW shows as well?
I've never seen any of them.
Yeah,
Um, possibly, possibly. But one thing I will say about Hawkman, I really like him. I like him as that leader, that
yeah,
kind of, very uptight kind of, but with a heart of gold leader of the Justice Society that he
yeah.
seems to be. I like that people will say, "Oh, look at him! He's just a rip off of Sam Wilson, isn't he?"
Right?
Probably,
Because I'm like,
probably
people
became
were probably
before Sam
I think
Wilson,
people were
really.
making their comparisons. You had your Storm, you had
You did,
your your
yes.
Falcon, you had
Your
your
Doctor
Ant-Man,
Strange.
you had your Doctor Strange, you had your Ant-Man in a Deadpool mask.
I mean, people aren't wrong. People aren't wrong. But which
Yes.
characters came first is the question. I
Yeah,
don't know for sure,
DC
but
typically
DC's
is
way
always
over.
first. DC is typically always first, when it comes to those things, but, uh,
It absolutely is.
yeah,
Um, Hawkman's wings actually looks like bird wings rather than what Sam Wilson's look
like
like, which are
techie.
still just techie metal things.
Yes, but I think his was actually supposed to be things that you would have used in the military, so I think, yeah,
That is true, I know
yes,
that,
that
but
was
still,
military tech,
as
but
far as your flying bird superhero goes,
yeah,
Hawkman's wings are better than Captain America's
yeah.
wings as far as Morgan's concerned.
Yes, so they looked a lot cooler, and I thought the helmet was gonna look dumb, but no, like, it actually
No,
worked, and
it didn't, and
yeah,
so did Doctor Fate's. I mean, you don't exactly see Pierce Brosnan under it because it's just a big hard gold thing.
Yes, but I mean, you see him kind of with the helmet off, and I'm sure it was a whole CGI suit, but
Yeah.
he looked great, and when he wasn't, he was dressed like somebody who would be asking you for some Grey Poupon. You know,
He was dressed like how I hope to dress when I'm in my
he had his
60s.
little robes and his ascots, like very okay,
He
which I
was
liked.
so
I
well
was
dressed in this
I
movie
was
for
there
Pierce
for it.
Brosnan.
Yes, I loved him just kind of popping in and giving his little wisdom of the future
Yeah.
and fate talk, and then kind of walking out. Like what he needed to do worked really well. You could tell like they did establish a nice relationship between him and Aldis Hodge, and the
Yes.
emotion there. So you actually felt that because I think in kind of the craziness of this movie, the kind of silliness of this movie, it might be hard to establish that bond, or it might feel
Definitely.
rushed and unearned, but I think they took the time to do that and show kind of quiet moments of conversation between the two of them so that you really did care about them, so that final kind of moment did have some impact. Um
I
I will
entirely
say
agree.
yes, I will say our villain looked very much like a character in a Tekken cutscene. Because we
I
do have
mean,
like a
what was it
devil. We
what
do
was
have
his name? What was his name? I forget his name. I don't care. I like the movie. I don't care what his name was. He looked like the devil. He looked like Satan. He was a
yes,
satanic, hellish villain.
Acton, I think. Is
No,
that what
was
it
it?
was?
Did he not have the same name as the crown? I
Oh,
don't
Sabak.
remember.
Sabak?
Sabak.
Okay,
Sabak, which
yes.
I'm sure is that weird alien chess game they play in Star Wars, by the
Yes, and
way.
I think I don't know if this is the same guy who played well, you never watched that movie, so you can't answer that question. But I wanna say it's the same guy who played Jafar in the live action Aladdin, but
Oh, okay.
yes. But yeah, like they very much he looked very much like a Tekken
I,
cutscene villain
I, I
character
didn't
in the
mind. I didn't mind
CGI,
the look of him
which
actually.
it didn't bother me. We got a sky beam. It didn't bother me.
I didn't
Like,
mind the look of him. I did not mind the look
yeah.
of a more actual villain in this movie.
Yes.
And as far as Atom Smasher and
And
Cyclone
Cyclone.
go,
Yes.
they didn't do much, but they were
No,
there. They
but
were
they were
fun.
very
They were cool. I like them.
yeah,
I like
they
them.
felt like young, late additions to the team. You call on them when you need them. That's why you recruited them to kind of come in and give a little backup, and that's what they did. They were kind of a young aspect. Lots of slow-mo to kind of show their powers. The CGI wasn't great, but it looked very nice and smooth and I liked the slow-mo was not it was very heavy-handed, but it worked for me, somehow.
Well,
So you
that's a
in
residue
terms
of
of
Snyder, isn't it?
yes,
It
but
the slow mo's heavy handed, but it looks good. It looks
yes,
good.
right? Like, because I liked, we don't know their powers, we don't really know them, so giving the slow-mo to kinda see their faces within the kind of
Yeah.
use of their powers and things like that, I thought, I wanted to see that, to kind of see the person with the ability because they're new to us. So yeah, I think they were used well in terms of how they were introduced. They weren't introduced as kind of these big, you know, defining members of the team. They were introduced as kind of backup, and they served as backup, and they were funny
Did
in
it
their moments. They were likable in their moments, and I think that worked. Henry Winkler, little cameo, like, okay, nice
Yes,
to
as
see
the
you. Nice.
original Atom Smasher, apparently.
Yeah, I liked that. It
That's
was
fun.
cute. Yeah.
What, um, what they were introduced like was members of the Suicide Squad. And not Suicide Squad, the weird movie that was objectively dreadful.
Yeah.
The good movie that came out like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Um, they were introduced just like, "Oh, yeah, you're there, you do that." Like, how are we gonna know you do that? Because we're just gonna see one scene of you doing that.
Yes.
And that's you.
That's enough, yes. It
That's
worked, it
you. We
worked.
don't need a whole big origin story for every little tiny person, do we? MCU. The MCU
Yes.
do it great, but that is what the MCU do. They give an
Yeah.
origin story to absolutely everybody.
Everyone. Yes, I mean, the mother and the son and her brother and that whole kind of, like, human dynamic to help ground Black Adam, I think, to show
Yeah.
him what his presence means to the people, for her to kind of side with his perspective on being a champion
Well,
against the
yeah.
Justice Society, and seeing, like and I loved her kind of calling out Hawkman, like, we've been struggling for however long, and where have you been? Now you want to show up when our champion is here to do what needs to be done to get rid of to liberate us, and now that's
Yeah.
when you show up. So your mentality on trying to come save us from whatever you think you need to save us from is warped because we have been struggling for however long with these awful people, this awful militia in here. And now you want to show up to stop somebody who's actually going to, take the hard road to getting it done for us. So I loved that they kind of called that out and that she was kind of, stepping up to them, and they set her up as a really great character. I like the relationship with her son, and I really thought kind of the son relationship with Black Adam was going to be this kind of corny kind of thing, but it
Yeah,
actually
I've seen people say like he was annoying. I didn't find that kid
no,
annoying
because
at
usually
all.
kid characters like that are can be really annoying, but it actually worked. Um and I liked it was there was enough of the relationship between the two of them. There was enough between the relationship between them and Black Adam that helped that you could see understand humanizing him and him kind of understanding a little bit of another side but not fully changing because he
Yeah,
has these human people who live in this terrible world kind of siding with him and understanding him and the people being behind him, and then
yeah,
him kind of having to learn to be that hero that his son thought he was, and learning that he wasn't kind of the chosen champion. His son made him the champion. And so
yes, yeah,
yeah, like those are kind of the more serious, deeper themes that we're getting in this kind of fun, colorful thing. So I like that there was enough in there to kind of ground it and give it some nuance, and it wasn't just kind of this mindless thing the whole time and throwing a bunch of
no,
action in your face, because you had this kind of solid through line and kind of things to think about in terms of what an anti-hero means and stuff like that, and kind of the conflict between him and the Justice Society and all of that. You had some deeper things to chew on, so it kind of helped you, you know. It was the your kind of through line covered in kind of some fun flair. So yeah,
yes,
it wasn't
and
completely a mindless thing, which it could have definitely become.
even those like you say those somewhat deeper themes. Um, you could have told a really quite serious story of oppressive foreign invasion and things
Yeah.
like that. You could have done that. It half does that because it does still want to be, like you say, the fun superhero movie that it ends up being.
Yeah.
And I think a movie with more, or I suppose maybe a production house with more confidence, may have really delved quite harshly into these kind of oppressive kind of takeover situation and having a protector that protects you from that and what's right and wrong and making it really, really morally grey.
Yeah. Mhm.
But we're not there with DC. We're not
Yeah.
there with DC. We are where we are at with DC. We are at the result that is this Black Adam movie with DC, and I think that is perfectly good
Yeah.
for where we're at. I
Yeah.
enjoyed the movie. I hope to see more of this attitude towards
Yeah.
DC movies.
It's a nice direction to take after kind of everything we've been hearing about to see what's happening with DC. It's a definite fun, positive, optimistic, and hopeful direction to take after kind of everything that's been going on with them. So I think this was
It,
definitely a nice kickoff to some
it does
potential
not
really.
change the game for anything, though. It is a it
No,
is
it
a it
doesn't.
is a very typical superhero
It
movie,
is, but I
and that
think
is
they needed that right
exactly
now.
what
It's
they
exactly what
needed.
they needed in this moment. So,
Yes.
yeah, I'm surprised. I really liked Black Adam. I had fun with it. Not a perfect superhero movie, but exactly what DC needed at this time and a lot of fun.
Yes. Well, there we go. I think it's fair to say we enjoyed.
Yeah.
General applause for
Mhm.
Black Adam. There. Yes. Okay. Well, get in through a little bit of a let's talk, Janine. Oh, we're still talking about horror things because they're just so fun.
Yes.
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 What have we got for our let's talk? Horror based let's talk today.
Well, I, was thinking about the great openings of horror films. The thing that kind of got me a little bit on board with Halloween Ends, which I talked about last time, was that opening. Like already in my
Okay.
head about the annoyance of, okay, it's a year later and these people are celebrating Halloween like it wasn't like the worst day a year ago. People are going to parties, having fun. Like, what is going on? But then that insane opening just was like, okay, I really want to see where this is going. I'm invested. I'm interested. Okay, this is gonna be weird, and I'm kind of interested.
Yeah.
So that got me thinking about great horror openings. So we've chosen a couple of horror openings that we really love in terms of how it kind of set up our story and really, built the atmosphere of what our horror movie was going to be. So yeah, I'm ready to get into
Truly, sometimes
it.
things that change the game for horror movies,
Yes,
because
yes, most definitely.
the openings are very, very important, really,
Yeah.
to horror. I mean, they are to any movie, but they are to horror movies, because they can tell you what type of horror movie you're in for. They can also tell you, I mean, that in terms of genre, subgenre, whatever. They can also tell you what type of horror movie you're in for in terms of how impressive it's going to be.
I mean, it can also be very deceptive because if you think of something like the opening of Ghost Ship, that opening is pretty cool, but that
I've
movie
never
is
seen
pretty
Ghost Ship.
terrible. Well, it has a pretty insane opening,
Okay.
uh, but the movie is trash. So,
Well, that is unfortunate. We
yes.
don't like it when horror
No.
movie openings cheat us into thinking they're good
Yeah.
movies. Thankfully, I think the ones we're talking about today are pretty good movies,
Yes,
has to
yes,
be
I
said.
would say so.
But a couple we have each before we do get into our a fun type game, Jeannine. I do love our games. We'll get into it. I love our games that are like this, like the one we've got today.
Because you usually win this version of the game,
Not
so it's
necessarily,
fine.
but it's the one I feel like I'm actually semi-competent at.
No,
It's the
you're pretty
quick
good at
fire
this.
cast games.
Yes.
We're doing it on DC today because of Black Adam. It's going to be fun.
Yes.
Anyway, horror openings. That's not what we're doing right now. We're doing
Jumping the
horror
gun,
openings
jumping the
right now.
gun. Yes.
I mean, Janine, do you want to begin or should I begin? I think we do both just have a couple each we would like to talk about.
Yes. I mean, I'll begin.
Okay.
So my first is the film Urban Legend.
Ooh.
um, not the best horror movie by any means, but I am a huge fan of the teen horror slasher. Scream definitely was a huge bridge into the world of horror for me and made me fall in love with slashers and made that my favorite genre. They just tend to feel more real to me than, your uh, ghost and possession
Janine
type
doesn't like
movies.
ghosts.
I, I'm
Janine doesn't like
I'm
demons.
I'm perfectly content with ghosts and demons, but I just like the realness of a slasher or and how creative you can get with a slasher. Because we have
Oh
so
yes,
many
of
so
course.
many iterations within that genre. But yes, teen horror is my jam 100%. And of course, so Urban Legend was definitely of that vein, came after, what Scream had done. Uh so yeah, I thought it was a really fun premise for a slasher, and the opening was just so good in kind of subverting expectations. You think your lead person here that we're following was really she's making all the right choices. She's being really smart. Um, we see her pass this very well lit, very busy gas station on a dark, kind of rainy night. And everything
Yes.
seems to be fine. She's listening to, nice Total Eclipse, singing along until Gaslight comes on. She's now long since passed the very nice, well lit gas station. She has to stop at one that's not so well lit, very kind of
The
desolate,
shady one.
empty. The shady one, of course, where gas is only like $1 or something. Oh,
What are they
yes.
doing to this gas? Who's
Exactly.
urinating in the gas tank?
What have you
Someone
done to the
is.
gas, Brad Dourif? And Brad Dourif, Chucky himself, is your creepy gas station attendant. Very much the profile of the creepy killer person that's gonna kidnap you and murder you. He's got
Playing with
scraggly old hair.
stereotypes.
He's got a stutter. He seems a little weird. He seems a little creepy. So, you think,
Villainizing people with
yes,
speech impediments.
exactly. You're right. This is what that, but that is kind of what, horror
it's
has
what you
made you.
get. It is what you
Yes,
get.
it's
Yes,
what horror has
definitely.
made you kind of think about that. So you think this girl is playing it so well, so smart. She like, opens her window just a crack, hands her credit card to Brad Dourif, give me my gas.
Very
Ever so
safe.
Yes, every so slightly you see Brad Dourif kind of peek in her back seat. Like it's a blink and you'd miss it that he actually like takes a peek in her back seat. He pumps her gas. He goes to run her card, and then he comes back and he's like, "Oh, ma'am, it's starting to rain now. Credit card company's on the phone. Your card's not working." She's like, "Oh, I don't know what I'm going to do, but let me play it smart. Let me get my pepper spray." Girl gets her pepper
Yes.
spray. She goes into the little back room, goes to answer the phone as Brad Dorff is locking the door. This creepy man with the stutter is locking the door. Uh, she he's trying to tell her something, but he can't get it out with the stutter. I don't know what's going on here. I'm gonna get out of here. She sprays him with this pepper spray, smashes the window, very resourceful. She's running to her car in the rain, trying to press her beeper. And she gets in the car, she gets away, and you think, okay, girl, she got away from creepy Brad Dorff, who was gonna murder her. He tried to lock her up. And then you see him run out into the rain and scream, "There's someone in the back seat." And it's
Yes.
you think she's safe, you think she's gotten out, and ugh, no, he's just trying to warn her. He was just trying to help her and save her. You think she's gotten away, but no. And she's singing the Total Eclipse song at the turnaround part. It's very much "Turn Around, Jamie" from
Yes, it
Scream.
is, isn't it? It
And
is. I forgot about
yes,
that bit.
and you slowly see this figure rising in the back seat as the lights flash on the car. And it isn't until the last minute she looks in her rear view, she sees it, and we don't even see it happen. We just see an axe go through the window, smash the window, and blood splatter, and that's your opening. Like,
I mean, it is a
so
great opening.
good.
It's a wonderful, wonderful opening. I did admittedly forget about the song part of it as well, which is
Yes.
even better
Yeah,
that
it's great.
that's involved. Total Eclipse at the Heart, of course, a famous song about vampires.
No, yes.
You can look at it like that. Look at the video. Have you ever watched the music
That
video for
gothic
Total
ass
Eclipse of the Heart?
video, yeah.
It's ridiculously vampiric, if that's
Yes.
a word you want to
But
use.
yeah, and you're playing with the most kind of well-known urban legend too. So and that's your opening,
Yeah.
So it leads
It's
you
a
to kind of
it
like
is.
these very curious, interesting deaths, and just that total subversion of expectation. Like you really think the whole time, and it's Brad Dourif, a horror villain kind of iconic actor. So you're already expecting him to be weird and creepy, and
Yeah.
you think this girl's doing everything right. She's got her pepper spray. She's fighting back against him. She's being very careful. She's getting away from him, only for it to be no, he was just warning you the whole time, and you just have this built up expectation of what based off his appearance and everything that you know ugh,
It's it's a great example of what those kind of movies, post Scream turned into in the late 90s in terms of playing with stereotypes of the genre.
yeah,
It's a perfect example of that because it sets up such a typical looking thing and then flips it completely on its head to
yeah,
something that you never think is going to happen in that situation.
yeah,
It is a great opening. I had admittedly forgotten about that one because I have only
yes,
watched the movie
love
once.
that
I forget
opening.
if it was for a Morgan hasn't seen or if it was for a watch along that we
Yes.
may have done. I do admittedly forget what it was for, but it is a great opening. It is a great opening, and I'm glad you brought that one up, Janine. I'm definitely glad you've brought that one up. One I did want to talk about, of course, and maybe I'm going to be a little bit more typical. I don't know. Am I going to be more typical? Who knows? Um, I did want to bring up the opening scene of Carrie, actually, because I think the opening scene of Carrie is just it's just the most horribleness you've ever seen in your entire life. it is all about what the actual horror of that movie is, which is just people being dreadful towards
Terrible.
Carrie
Yes.
in her most vulnerable state. Yeah, because it's weird and it's a Brian De Palma movie. It's a bit kind of, it's all slow mo. You can think of it as one way or the other, really, can't you? And I prefer to think of it as the way it's actually intended, rather than just some sort of lurid "let's look at all these women in the locker room" situation.
Yeah.
Because I think what actually Brian De Palma does quite well in his movies in general, and in his career at this particular time, is have scenes and shots and things like this that seem like way too over the top to not just be exploitative, but they're
Yeah.
actually not exploitative. They're genuine.
Yeah.
They are showing just the most pure form of what they're trying to show.
Yeah,
Just because it looks extreme doesn't mean it is.
and I
It
think it's
just
meant
means
to
it's.
enhance her vulnerability
Of
as well, I
course
think.
it
Yeah.
is. Of course it is. And because everybody else is just kind of, it's very slow mo. It's almost angelic the way
Yeah.
this locker room
It has
scene's
this, like,
shot.
diffuse glow on it as well.
It's very
Yeah.
foggy,
Yeah.
steamy,
Yeah.
in parts kind of sexy, because you have all these people parading themselves around the place,
Yeah.
and you go to Carrie in the shower, who comes on her period at this particular
Yeah,
moment,
the
and everybody's
fun
then just completely, rather than doing
she's
the sensible thing
and
and the
helping
most
her.
reasonable thing of just go, "Oh, here you are, Carrie, use that." Like, I hope to God anybody would do in
Yes,
that
but no, let's
situation.
make fun of her for not understanding what a period is. And actually, fun fact, the man who put the blood in her hand for that scene was her husband.
Okay, well,
He was like
there's a
he
good
was like the
fact.
makeup kind of, supervisor person guy, I think. I saw that, yeah.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's confusion. It is entirely what the movie Carrie is. It paints it paints the movie as exactly what it is, and I know I've just said that, but I was trying to get my thoughts out in my own mind.
Yes.
But it is the perfect way to open that particular movie. You almost think it's one thing that then turns into another, yes. But when from the outside you can look at Carrie the movie, you know one or two scenes from it. You think, okay, that's the horror. Carrie dripped in blood, murdering people with telekinetic fire. That's the horror. That's not really the horror of Carrie. The horror of Carrie is what drives her to that. And this is just the beginning. This is the second most horrific thing that happens to Carrie in the entire movie, really, probably, isn't it? I mean, well, okay, her mother does some really
Yeah, some
questionable things to her,
crazy
okay.
things. Yeah.
At school, it's the second most horrific thing that probably happens to Carrie in the entire movie, but
Yeah.
that's saying something. It happens right at the start of the movie, and is such a perfect way of characterizing everyone in that school. Perfect way
Yes.
of characterizing Carrie as somebody who's deeply uneducated on real world things and has had a warped mind from home.
Yeah.
Um, Characterizes really well all the other girls that are just dreadful people,
They're just totally
and the
dismissive of
teacher,
her, and yeah.
that tries as much as she might to sympathize, to help,
Yeah.
and also just kind of beats up the boys, gives
Yeah,
them a little
right?
slap.
Slappy slap.
We don't mind that. We
Yeah.
don't mind that.
Mhm.
But it's a horrific scene. It's a horrible scene to watch,
Yes.
because it's, you wouldn't want anybody to go through that. Imagine if that was your daughter
Yeah.
who was doing that. That was your
And then it's like
sister.
It's a
It'd be
very
horrible.
interesting and it's a very interesting bookend of, blood at the beginning and blood at the
Mm,
end type kind of thing,
yeah. She's in
Very
power of all the
symbolic.
blood at the end.
Yeah.
She's
So
not at the beginning.
very
She
symbolic.
grows power.
Yeah.
Carrie is not the villain of Carrie. Carrie is the hero of Carrie.
Yes.
100%.
Yeah.
She might go on a killing spree, but she is absolutely justified in that killing spree.
She's earned that killing spree.
It all
Yeah.
starts from the beginning. It all starts from
Yes.
that horrible, horrible opening scene of
Yes,
Carrie.
yes. I never really think about that, and yeah, that's a good one that I don't
It's
think I would have
because it's
outright thought of.
weirdly it's because up until that exact point, it's really weirdly over the top kind of, is this a soft core porn movie?
Yeah.
No, it's not. It's
No, it's
a
this coming of age
weird horror movie.
vulnerability. Yeah, that kind of goes into the horror, and this is just the start of
It goes
where
into
that
De Palma. This
where
is De
that horror
Palma.
builds. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, very much De Palma. I like De Palma's over the topness, but
Yes,
that
yes. He's
that
extra.
actually means something.
He's
This is
extra.
why I like, you know, his Scarface, because it's so extreme.
It's so
It's
over
in
the top.
every
Yeah.
single way. But it's supposed to be because it's literally about over the top excess
Yes.
kind of capitalistic gain.
Yeah.
You're just putting every bit of your movie into your central theme, and that's what
Yeah.
he's done in this movie as well.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
Carrie, yes.
Great pick. Great
Success.
pick.
Well, what do you have next?
Well, I don't think I need to go into too much, scene setting with this one as I did with the other one, because of course it is the opening of Scream.
Which is legendary, it has to be said.
Yes, most definitely. Yeah, and I think Drew Barrymore, she actually had gotten the role of Sydney, but she was like, no. I want it to be very much a psycho type situation, and I want to subvert expectations because, I'm in all this promotional material.
Yeah.
I'm kind of the most known out of
I'm on
all
the
of these young.
poster.
Yes, I'm the most known probably of these people, so people are not gonna expect me to die, and that's going to be and the way that they have Casey fight that whole time.
Yeah.
There are so many moments where you think she's actually gonna get away. She's fighting, she's kicking him, she's hitting him, she's getting him in the, in all the spots to get away. And yeah, and so when it doesn't happen, it's so tragic. And the scene of her parents being able to hear her on the phone, and
Mm.
just the popcorn just kind of violently popping at a certain point because it's just no one can watch it, and the smoke, and just so many elements of side action happening, to really just intensify in the way that scene builds. It's very quiet and subtle, and then you get these sound cues. The sound cue you get when he says, "I want to know who I'm looking at." And then you get da 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 da
Yes.
da. It's
Yes.
like, wait, what did you say? I want to know who I'm talking to. And like just the fact that she was kind of flirty with him at the beginning, kind of lying about having a boyfriend, because Roger Jackson really, putting on, and the way Roger Jackson's able to change his voice. And oh, it's
Yeah.
so many just great elements. Just the build, I think, is better than anything else of that scene. It's very kind of chill and relaxed and fun, and you're having really, that's when you get the most meta kind of fun conversation. And then it builds to this intensity and fear. It's so good. It's so good.
I don't know if I've ever actually told you the fact that when I was first kind of getting into movies and getting into horror movies, um, I wouldn't necessarily watch horror movies because I couldn't get them because I was too young to go out and buy them.
Yeah.
And how did I watch movies? My kind of first movies. People know I've told the story. I really probably became a movie fan at about 14, 15 years old. So it's quite
Yeah. A
late,
little late.
really.
A little late, but
I
anytime's
did
a good
certainly
time.
watch. I did certainly watch lots of movies as a child, but I considered myself kind of okay. This is kind of what I'm into
Yeah.
at kind of 14, 15. So well, maybe 13, 14. So I was kind of too young to go out and buy movies, and that's how I originally kind of watched a lot of movies was I bought them. I bought the DVDs and kind of watched them on just kind of that's supposed to be a good movie recommendations. So how I first came across the opening of Scream was just watching YouTube videos of best horror openings.
Oh,
And that
okay.
it would always come up. It would always come up
Yeah.
on these compilation video type things. So I remember watching it so many times, way before I'd watched any other part of the movie. And I actually think I watched the movie Scary Movie in its entirety late
Before.
night on one TV channel before I'd watched Scream.
Oh my gosh.
But I knew the opening so well. I
Yes,
knew
because
the
they
opening so well of Scream.
aside from some very goofy things, they stick pretty close to it, and even
They
having kind of
do.
your opening person be Carmen Electra, so kind of like a well-known bigger name at the time, you know?
They do. Um, but
Mhm.
no, like everything you said, the little sound cues in the Scream opening are so good.
Yes.
It seems so typical. It seems so easy,
Yeah.
but it wasn't in '96 when slashers were done to death, and you had to have the old
Something
master come in
interesting. Yeah.
and
And just this
completely
idea
rip it
from
apart.
Drew really just like, no, I want to play this opening person because I don't
Yeah,
people are going to
it's
expect
so
it.
good.
And her kind of hearkening back to the idea of Psycho and like, I really want to play up something like that. Like, your
It's
lead
so
person that
good.
you really think, and the fact that the promotional material was putting her on everything. So you
Yeah,
really was like a main character. Yeah. Very
I
smart.
mean
Just
they
that
were.
whole kind of scene, just the build of it. So great.
And it's pretty brutal as well. It's pretty nasty.
Yes.
No, it
Yeah.
doesn't hold back. And the first time you see Ghostface kind of turn in the window, I really like that in the
Yes.
opening as well.
Yeah, and Wes, like,
Um, that
he had to lie to get some of that through. He actually like, one of his most goriest cut, they wanted him to cut it, and he was just like, "Well, that's the only take I have." So they're like, "Okay, well, if that's the only take you have, I guess you'll have to use it." Like, he had other takes, but he was like,
he was like,
"No."
"Ha
Yeah.
I win. Of course
Yes,
you
and
win,
that's
Wes. Of course you win."
yes, and that's why they had to do the kinda speed up to her hanging from the tree because it was very much
Oh, I
we
see.
can't show her for too long with her guts hanging out from the
I didn't
tree, and
know that actually. I didn't know
yeah,
that that's why
yeah,
it's a little bit
mhm,
weirdly sped up.
yeah, mhm, yeah,
Okay, I like that.
yeah,
Well,
mhm,
I mean, my second one that I wanted to bring up is a monumentally influential horror opening, really, isn't it? I mean, it's arguably
mhm,
the most influential mainstream horror movie opening. And I mean, I know we talked about this franchise's latest movie last week.
yes.
Um, Nothing beats the opening of Halloween.
Yeah,
Nothing
it's
beats
pretty
the
good.
opening of Halloween. The rest of Halloween doesn't beat the opening of Halloween. The only opening I can think of that beats it for being a pure opening is actually When a Stranger Calls.
Oh,
But the
yeah.
fact that When a Stranger Calls, the opening of When a Stranger Calls is just basically a short movie that was then made into a
Yes!
longer movie.
Yeah, because I know I talked about
Um,
how I was like, "Wait, there's more to the story, we're going somewhere else
yeah,
now, I didn't even realize all this was attached."
the opening of When a Stranger Calls is a perfect short horror movie that was originally a short horror movie that they then just decided to expand upon to make the full
Yeah,
movie. That's
yeah,
the point of it. But the opening to Halloween is not on its own. It is the
yeah,
opening to the movie.
yeah,
The POV just wasn't happening in horror movies, wasn't massively happening in movies,
yeah.
in 78. And here comes John Carpenter in his tiny little movie to do something totally influential, totally that
Yes.
nobody else is doing. Put us in directly for an extended period of time the killer's mind, the killer's face, the killer's eyes. We are
Yes.
him
I
at that point.
remember.
We don't know who it is. We don't
No.
know who it is. We just know that we are him. We are slowly going through the Myers residence. We are
Mhm.
picking up the knife. We are looking in
Picking up the
on
mask.
picking
Yeah.
up the mask. We are looking in on Judith Myers and her boyfriend canoodling on the couch, going upstairs. We're following them. You're getting a little tiny bit of music in the background. You're not getting your full Halloween score. That
Yeah.
comes just afterwards.
Yeah.
You're following them upstairs. You're going in. Turn, Michael, stabby, stabby,
Stab, stab,
stabby.
stab. Yeah.
The camera. Okay, some people don't like the fact that the head weirdly tilts, or the camera, being Michael's head, weirdly tilts up to the knife like this,
Yeah.
as he's just stabbing like
I
this,
watched
as
the
though he's
kill
going
count.
to watch the knife. He's not
Yes,
going to watch the knife.
exactly. But it's like in the kill count, he's like, he briefly looks up to check out his knife form,
He does. That's
his
exactly
stabbing
what he
form.
does.
Yeah.
Well done, James, from the kill.
Yes.
That's precisely what he's doing.
Yeah.
But it's in there because, okay, Carpenter's got to show us what's happening, even if
Yes.
Michael doesn't.
Yeah.
Stabby, stabby, stabby. Judith's on the floor. You go
Then you
outside.
walk out. Yeah.
Michael takes the mask
Takes the
off,
mask, and it's a
6-year-old kid.
child. So yeah, I remember it was a Halloween night, and me and my sister put it on. We're like, "It's Halloween. Let's watch Halloween." I've never
It's
seen it.
just
I've never seen it either.
unbelievable.
That opening, and then when that mask comes off, and you see it's this little boy, and he just has this like dead look on his face, and we were so shocked, and that
It's
just
as though
like
he's
had
in a
us reeled
trance,
in.
that kid who's
Yeah.
playing Michael. It
Yeah.
is as though he's in a complete trance.
Yeah.
It humanizes Michael for the rest of that movie, which is what makes Michael more terrifying in
Yeah.
that first movie. Now Michael's just kind of, he's just some sort of weird being who
Yeah.
who even is Michael Myers
Yeah.
anymore, you know?
Yeah.
But in Halloween 78, he's just the grown-up version of that kid.
Yeah. Terrifying.
That's all he is. With the
Terrifying.
blackest eyes, the
The
devil's
darkest eye,
eyes.
the devil's eyes.
And you
Yes.
see those eyes. You
Yeah.
see those eyes in that last
Mhm.
shot when that mask is taken off that child's face. And it
Yes.
sounds so silly for me to just commentate over the opening of Halloween, the ridiculously famous opening of Halloween like I've just done. It sounds so obvious, it sounds so simple, but it is a true game changer. And it
Yeah.
is a game changer in the way that Screams was a game changer in a
Yeah. In that era.
smart
Yeah.
sense, in a clever sense.
Mhm.
You don't get that without this, because you don't get a lot of mainstream slasher without Halloween. Yes, okay, Black Christmas. Yes, okay, what came before it? Sure. But Halloween is always the one that perfected the mainstream, the early slasher.
Yeah.
Black Christmas is great, don't get me wrong. Black Christmas is a wonderful, wonderful movie. When you look at Black Christmas, it is some of the kills in Black Christmas are actually done in POV. I've got to give it credit. Some of them are. But none, I don't think, are as effective as the opening of Halloween. I just think there's something particularly special that will live on forever about the opening of Halloween. It cemented everything that's great about that movie and about that series forever. In its opening 5 minutes, it's just pitch perfect. In the same way that the opening of When a Stranger Calls is a pitch perfect short, that is just a pitch perfect opening to
Yeah.
a longer movie. The opening of Halloween, it
Yes.
is wonderful. Yes. There we go. I think. Jeannine? Yes? No? Who?
Yes.
What?
Yes.
Where? Yes. Lovely.
Yes.
Well, we do have a game to play. I'm not sure how this is going to work quick fire wise with our somewhat technical issues we are having today.
Yeah.
But we're going to try.
Yeah.
We're going to try
Okay.
because we love
Okay.
games like this.
Can you hear me? Can you see me? Okay.
I can hear you. I can hear you. It's fun. We have fun.
Okay.
We have a game. It's DC Quickfire Casting. We've done one of these for the MCU. We've done one of these for Star Wars. It's DC's turn. We have different things, though, don't we, Jeannine? As I have gathered, well, there's 3 rounds. We like to do 3 rounds. So we've got round 1, round 2, and round 3. And all we're going to be doing is we're going to be saying a character from DC movies, and the other person is going to be quickfire answering who played that particular character.
Yes.
We're going to alternate like that. 3 rounds in increasing difficulty. That's how you say that word. 10 people in round 1, 10 people in round 2, and 5 people in round 3. Round 3, notoriously difficult. The Star Wars round 3, Jeannine, when we did that, when it was the premiere of Andor, I think it was the Star Wars round 3 one, was so difficult.
It was tough.
I don't know what we did to ourselves in that, but the way we've done it is I have gathered characters from the current DC universe. So you know your Man of Steel based movies, your Zack Snyder's Justice League, all this kind of thing. What is known as the DCEU, even if you want to call it that.
Yes.
What Jeannine has got for me is all the other DC movies that came out
that are
before.
not connected. Well, I do have some after as well, because there are some that are not inherently.
There are after. Of course, there are some
that aren't inherently connected to the DCEU.
Of course, there are some that are after. Of course, there is. Yes, but not so. Yes, it's going to be fun. This I feel like you're going to do me over, Jeannine. I just do, and because I feel like you're going to throw out just the most obscure DC movie you could possibly find.
No, I'm not going to do very well. My first my one and only Intergeekdom match, I literally lost the match because the only types of questions I missed in that whole match were DCEU questions. I got everything else correct.
Well,
so, not feeling very confident, but go ahead, give it to me.
Oh, am I starting? Let's just get straight on into it then with round 1. We've got to keep score as well. Okay. Oh, no, we'll keep score at the end of each round. Is that how we do it? I forget how we do
typically.
it. I'm excited. I'm very excited. I'm sorry. Okay. Round 1. Ding, ding, ding. Do we have to go ding, ding, ding? That's an old Schmodown thing, isn't it? That's what they used to do on the Schmodown. Is that what they used to do on the Schmodown? Ding, ding, ding.
No.
Am I getting my shows mixed up?
I think you're thinking of fan friction.
Possibly. I'm getting everything mixed up. I don't know.
They would do the Apollo ding ding.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I am. I don't know where my mind's on DC movies. That's why. Okay. Let's start, Jeannine. You off. DCU. Remember, DCEU.
Yes.
Lois Lane.
Amy Adams.
Yes.
Okay. Batman 89.
Batman 89. Michael Keaton. Yes. General Zod.
Oh, Michael Shannon.
Yes.
Poison Ivy.
Uma Thurman. Bloodsport.
Oh, oh my gosh, am I?
Ooh.
Oh my gosh, am I mixing him up? Oh my gosh.
Hope not.
I know.
I hope not at this early stage.
Idris Elba.
It is Idris Elba, yes.
I'm like, I don't want to mix him up with that other one that he was kind of replacing. A Constantine.
Oh, Keanu Reeves.
Yes.
Amanda Waller.
Viola Davis. V.
Hugo Weaving. See, I knew you'd throw V for Vendetta in there. Technically not a DC, but okay. Half DC movie.
Adjacent.
Jim Gordon.
Oh, Gary Oldman. Oh, no, that's not my answer. Stop.
Oh,
no, that's not my answer. That's not my answer. Oh my gosh. The Yellow Peanut.
I'm afraid I have to
No,
the yellow peanut. What's that?
he voices the yellow peanut of M&M's.
The yellow. Oh my god.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
I'm
J.
afraid
Jonah
I'll have to
Jameson.
take your first
No, that
answer.
was not my first answer. J. Jonah Jameson. Why am I blanking on his name? I can hear his voice in my head. He's yelling at me about how to play the drums.
Oh dear, it's all going crazy. Are we here? I don't. Oh, I don't even know if we're here. This is just giving Jeannine more time to think.
I'm here. No, I'm here. I'm just frozen. Can I pass? Can I pass and go back?
Oh yes, yes, you can pass. Yes, you can pass. I forgot
Okay,
about that.
I pass. I pass.
Okay,
I pass.
I'm not going to give you that long in the future.
Lois Lane.
Lois Lane, who?
I mean,
Margot Kidder.
yes, because I mean, we've only gotten
Okay.
one other iteration of her that wasn't in the DCEU, right?
Have we?
Oh no,
Have
sorry.
we?
This was no. I should have put the year. Yes, Lois Lane of those films.
Yes, Margot Kidder. Margot Kidder.
Yes. Sorry, my bad.
Cyborg.
Oh, Ray Fisher.
Yes.
Steel.
Shaquille O'Neal. Yes. We like it. Jor-El.
Oh, oh my gosh, what am I like? Russell Crowe.
Yes.
Rorschach.
Oh, what the hell's his name? Oh, it's Jackie Earl Haley.
Yes.
Black Mask.
Ewan McGregor.
Yes.
Catwoman 2004.
Halle Berry. Hawkman.
Aldis Hodge. Superman 2006.
What, Brandon Routh. I was going to say Brendan somebody, but then I thought it was Brendan Fraser, but then he wasn't Brendan Fraser. Martha Kent.
Diane Lane.
Yes.
Oh, that was my last one.
That was your last one?
Mm-hmm.
Did I ask more than...
Oh, no. I skipped one. Harvey Dent, 89.
Harvey Dent, 89 was Billy D. Williams. Yes. You did pass on one there, Jeannine. You did pass on one. This was Jim Gordon, and I'm going to give you 5, 4.
What is his name?
3, 2.
No!
1. 0, 0, 0, 0.
Why have I totally blanked? I totally blanked on his name.
You get the big X, Jeannine. Jim Gordon in the DC EU.
Yes.
J.K. Simmons.
J.K. Simmons. The yellow peanut M&M.
10 to 9.
Yeah,
10 to 9. Morgan wins round 1. Yes, success. Okay, round 2. It may get slightly tougher. Slightly. And for your first one in round 2, Jeannine, I would like The Thinker.
Peter Capaldi.
Yes.
Oswald Cobblepot 2022.
Was Colin Farrell. King Orm. Orm. It's a great word.
I know. Which one was
say
King Orm?
King Orm.
Which one was King Orm?
Orm. Okay, to use alternative name, Ocean Master.
Patrick Wilson?
It is Patrick Wilson, yes.
Jim Gordon, 2022.
Hold on, 2022 was Jeffrey Wright. Dr. Sivana.
Oh, Mark Strong?
Mark Strong. This is not very quick fire.
No, Lex Luthor, 2006.
No, it was Kevin Spacey. Why do we need to bring people like that up? Antiope.
Oh. Robin Wright.
Yes.
Harvey Dent, 2008.
Aaron Eckhart. Ratcatcher 2.
That is not fair. I don't know her name. I don't remember her name.
A pass on Ratcatcher 2.
No, just a wrong. I'm not going
just
to.
Just a wrong
Yes.
on Ratcatcher 2. Oh, okay,
yes.
Okay. Yes.
General Zod, 1980.
Yes. Terence Stamp. Kneel before Zod. This is one thing I would just wish Michael Shannon would have done. Perry White. Perry White. Jeannine has frozen again, I believe. I do not believe Jeannine has given her answer. I can hear you now.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Lawrence Fishburne.
It is indeed Lawrence Fishburne.
Silk Spectre 2.
Oh, Jesus. Which one's Silk Spectre? Stupid Watchman. Marlon Ackerman, is that?
That is correct.
Is that who Marlon Ackerman is?
Yes.
Renee Montoya.
What? Oh.
Yes.
Rosie Perez.
It is Rosie Perez.
Gabriel.
Oh, this has been a Constantine, won't it? This is what this is. I've never seen Constantine. Gabriel. I haven't got a clue. I'm saying a wrong on that one. I'm not going to get that. I am not going to get that one, Jeannine. Oh dear. Have we gone? Are we here?
I know. We're almost there.
We're terribly apologetic for this today.
Yes, I'm sorry. My internet hates me today. Tilda Swinton, if you can hear me.
Tilda Swinton. Okay,
yes,
Tilda Swinton.
Yes.
Senator Finch.
Holly Hunter.
Yes.
Gus Gorman.
Oh, I recognize that name as well. It's Richard Pryor, isn't it?
That is correct.
Yes. Polka Dot Man.
Oh, David Dastmalchian.
Yes.
Sugar.
I do not believe I heard the previous question.
Sugar.
Unfortunately. I still do not believe I heard the previous question, unfortunately.
Sugar.
Sugar. Oh, this is one of Two-Face's people, isn't it? Who I believe unless I've got this painfully wrong, was one of them Drew Barrymore, and is that Drew Barrymore?
That is correct.
Yes. Success. Huntress.
Mary Elizabeth Winstead.
Yes.
Lois Lane, 2006.
See, I don't know this one. This is the one I don't know. I just don't know. I've never seen Superman Returns. I've never seen it, and I don't know. I don't know who played Lois Lane in 2006.
Kate Bosworth.
Okay, well, Jeannine, you did not get Ratcatcher 2. Has Jeannine frozen again? Goodness me.
I'm
We're trying to play a
sorry.
game, internet. We're trying to play a game. This is making it very difficult to play this
It
game.
is. It is.
Ratcatcher 2, you did not get. That was Daniela Melchior.
Okay.
Who did I not get?
Lois
did you?
Lane and Tilda Swinton.
Oh, so we're back tied.
Yes.
So it's 20-20.
Yes.
With the score. Ooh. It comes down to round 3, which is always fun, isn't it? Because round 3 is usually really difficult.
Yes.
And even I need to look up some of my round 3s because I haven't wrote down the damn names of them. So you might have to give me a minute with my own round 3s.
Okay.
Now, let's begin. It's 2020. It's a closely fought battle for round 1 and round 2.
All right.
Jeannine, you are beginning round 3 with Superhero Darla.
Who?
Character's name is Superhero Darla.
Megan Good?
It is Megan Good. I had to throw Megan Good in there, didn't I?
I know. I was like, oh, he's Megan Good. He thinks she's hot. Perry White, 2006.
I have no idea. Absolutely no clue. Absolutely no clue at all.
Frank Langella.
Frank Langella played Perry White.
Yes, he did.
What's going on? Absolutely insane. Victor Zaz.
Oh.
Yeah, what's his name? You don't know his name, do you?
I used to watch him on the Mindy Project. What's his name?
No, you might know his name.
What am I thinking of? And now I'm like, am I thinking of his name? His character name from the Mindy Project. Not his real name.
Please don't know his name.
Okay. Well, I'm just gonna say his name, which I think is his name from the Mindy Project. Danny Castellano.
That is not his name.
Yeah, that's his character
is
name.
not
I think
his
from
name.
the Mindy Project.
Okay.
Oh no. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, I'm not gonna remember. Chaz.
Excuse me, Chaz. I'm gonna need a movie.
Constantine.
Yeah, no idea. Bye, Constantine. Absolutely no clue.
It's your buddy, Shia LaBeouf.
Shia LaBeouf. Okay.
Yes.
Silas Stone.
Oh. Silas Stone. Oh my gosh, Silas Stone. I know that name. Who is that?
Silas Stone.
Yes. Oh. Skynet.
Skynet.
Miles Dyson. What's your name, Miles Dyson? Oh my gosh. Joe Morton.
It is Joe Morton. Well done.
Oh my god.
Well done.
Dr. Manhattan.
Dr. Manhattan was Billy Crudup?
Yes.
Yes. Carathen.
Oh.
I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Karathen. Carathen. Or Carathen. Or Carathen.
I don't know.
Okay.
You're not going to tell me?
No, I'm going to tell you them at the end.
I told you not. Fine. Otis.
Otis. I'm going to need a movie.
Superman 1980.
Oh, it's why do I shouldn't need a movie for that. It's Ned Beatty.
It's Otis. What was it? Otisville or Otisburg? He wanted to make an Otisburg. He's like, get out
Otis, but I'm pretty sure it's Otisburg.
Yeah.
Cassandra Cain.
Are you kidding me?
I'm not kidding you, no.
You're terrible. I don't know that little girl's name. No.
No.
Mm-mm.
No. Okay. And lastly,
Uncle Joe
Uncle Joe.
from Steel.
Oh, for God's sake. As though I've actually ever watched Steel. Uncle Joe from Steel. Who's an old basketball player that may have been Shaquille O'Neal's uncle? Basketball players from Magic Johnson.
Incorrect.
Who was it? Who was that then?
Richard Roundtree.
Richard Roundtree. Oh my God.
He's like this old junkyard man. Uncle Joe.
Richard Roundtree, for God's sake.
Yep.
Right, okay. So, you did not get Victor Zaz, Carathen, or Cassandra Cain, so you got 2. So that was 22. How many did I get?
You missed Chaz and Perry White, so you got 3.
I've won!
Yes,
I've won by a point. Yes,
Yeah.
success. Okay, Victor Zaz.
Or no. Wait.
No?
No, you only got 2 as well.
Oh, it's a draw. It's a tie. This is fair. We like draws.
Yes.
We don't mind that either.
You got 2 as
I'll
well.
celebrate that as a win. Jeannine, Victor Zaz, Chris Messina.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Cassandra Cain was Ella J. Basco.
Yeah, I never would have gotten that.
And Carathen was Julie Andrews. It's that big squid monster thing from Aquaman.
Would they? Yes.
The weird thing that for some reason Julie Andrews voiced, that I've no real clue why Julie Andrews voiced that thing, but there you go, in the weirdest casting ever of any DC movie. Julie Andrews as a big underwater sea monster. Jeannine. Julie Andrews. Craziness. Anyway.
Man.
A fun show today. We're not going to let stupid technical things ruin a fun show.
Yes.
We had fun today. We had good discussions today.
We tried. Yeah.
Oh, we did. We did have fun.
I'm sorry.
Was it not fun? I think it was fun.
Yes, I had
Always fun. On Monday Madness. It is, of course, not the only show you can find on this podcast feed or indeed on this YouTube channel. Subscribe, ding the notification bells on this YouTube channel for all the fun stuff we have here. You can check out the movie reviews, the watch-alongs, the collection videos, the retro trailer reactions, and, of course, this show every single Monday here on the YouTube channel. It's a wonderful podcast here. This show on a Monday, Morgan Hasn't Seen on a Wednesday, and the main show, It's a Wonderful Podcast, on a Friday on the podcast feed on Anchor, Apple Podcast, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcast, Castbox, Amazon Music, and everywhere else. Subscribe to the podcast feed as well. Scrolling along the bottom of the screen, if you are watching, there is links to the Patreon and the donation link. If you want to support us that way as well. We can't do what we do without that generous support. And maybe we could pay the internet gods as well for some justice. Ginny. We need the Justice Society to come in and sort out the internet gods for us.
Please. That's a big problem.
Please, Pierce Brosnan. Please come in and don't die this time. Sorry, I shouldn't have spoiled that, should I? I told you we were going. Yes, please, yes. Tell us our fate and make it good ones. I don't know. I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. Twitter, you can find the show at It's a Wonderful One. You can find me on Twitter at the Purple Dawn with a 3 instead of the E in there, because, Jeannine,
if you can hear me,
I
3
can.
is the magic number.
Yes, of course. on Instagram at Just the Purple Don. Jeannine, I mean, would you like me to try and do your things
Yes.
instead?
Yes, please.
Okay. Jeannine
Yes,
at
please.
Jeannine Debean on Twitter. Or Jeannine Debean _ on Twitter. Jeannine Debean on Instagram and TikTok for yourself over there. And of course, the merch Teespring, if you would like to find any of our merch, t-shirts, all kinds of crazy stuff, all the fun designs for all our shows. Jeannine also has a big cartel shop for any of her artworks that you can buy as prints or anything like that as well. If you are watching, you should have seen a little bit of a preview of that too. But there we go. That's it for another episode of Monday Madness. It has been a fun one. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. Don't let the gods spoil the time. Just because we've been talking about Black Adam the God today doesn't mean gods have to ruin things with being silly with technical problems. Great show. We always have fun. It's a good time. I think there's only one thing left to do. I mean, I might as well count us down.
Oh my God.
Which is a little bit unfortunate.
Been fired.
3,
sacked.
2, you haven't been sacked. 1. Bye.